On this episode of China Uncensored, well, we're finally getting towards the final round in civilization. What? Thermonuclear war? Shoot, I wanted to get to Alpha Centauri. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Kim Jong Un, the rotund God Emperor of North Korea. What can you say about a man that, when you type his name into Google, it autocompletes Kim Jong Un flamethrower execution? Apparently, he executed an official by flamethrower. Also mortar and anti-aircraft gun. Unless you're an actual hermit, you've probably heard that the Hermit Kingdom is on the warpath. Last year marked North Korea's 5th nuclear test. They also released this nice video where they blow up the US Capitol and threaten to nuke Manhattan. All the people there would be killed immediately and the city would burn to ashes. Which is an odd threat to make since, the United Nations is there. And probably a lot of countries would be mad at Kim if he blew it up. Also, there are North Korean diplomats there. And me, too. So blowing up Manhattan is in no one's best interests. To top it all off, North Korea has been conducting a series of ballistic missile tests. Now, all this posturing might have worked on the United States' last president, who failed to put the bomb in Obama. But things have changed under President Trump, who puts the bomb in bombastic. Not only has he launched a Twitter war on North Korea, he's shown he may be willing to go for an actual war. In the course of a week, Trump ordered a retaliatory missile strike on Syria for Assad's use of sarin nerve gas. Then dropped the mother of all bombs on ISIS. And over the weekend, a US carrier strike group headed to North Korea as they prepared to celebrate the 105th birthday of founder Kim Il-sung. And how did North Korea plan to celebrate? Satellite intelligence suggests that a nuclear test could be in the works. I mean, fireworks are nice, but that is going a bit too far. So it was a bit of a tense weekend. Since we are not now scrounging through the wasteland looking for slightly radioactive roach meat and rat X, you might have correctly guessed we did not have a nuclear war. So if North Korea didn't launch a nuke, how did they celebrate their holiday? With a military parade showcasing their latest intercontinental ballistic missile technology. And a big old dance party. Because nothing says there's no famine in North Korea like lots of people dancing. You can't dance if you're starving. And then the next day, they did have a totally awesome ballistic missile test.
U.S. Pacific Command says it, quote, blew up almost immediately off the Korean Peninsula's east coast.
Most people in North Korea weren't too troubled by the news of failure, mainly because they didn't hear any news of the failure. And when some Reuters reporters spilled the beans, citizens responded with all the correct answers.
If the news is true, failure is the mother of success. We will make more efforts to make even more powerful weapons in the future.
That's a lie. Scientists like me don't believe that.
And you've got to believe the scientists of North Korea. The good news is that President Trump has worked out a close friendship with someone powerful enough to have an impact on North Korea. The Easter Bunny. It's part of the new U.S. fairy tale alliance that will also include Jack Frost, Santa Claus, and the Tooth Fairy. Yes, things are looking very grim for North Korea. What's that, Shelley? Yes, I know that's just a movie. But can North Korea actually start a nuclear war? Well, technically, they haven't even finished the Korean War. Right now, it's just in an awkward, decades-long ceasefire. But if it starts up again, this time, China's not on their side anymore. It's on America's. At least on this issue. At first, it might not seem like the US and China could be allies against North Korea. After all, hundreds of thousands of Chinese soldiers died fighting against US troops in the Korean War. But the last Chinese leader to really support North Korea was the four-eyed toad Jiang Zemin. and he's Xi Jinping's big political rival. So it's not a coincidence that as Xi Jinping takes down his political enemies tied to Jiang Zemin, he's also dismantling China's old friendly relationship with North Korea. In February, China said it was cutting off coal imports from North Korea in compliance with UN Security Council sanctions. And after the meeting between Xi and Trump, even my favorite state-run media, the super-nationalistic Global Times, came out in favor of stricter UN sanctions and warned Pyongyang that it should avoid making mistakes. The Global Times, by the way, has long been considered part of Jiang's faction. So if even they are criticizing North Korea, it doesn't look too good for Kim Jong Un. Now there are signs that the US and China are working together on dealing with the situation. And the Chinese military has been put on alert. So China will not be joining North Korea if they decide to provoke the United States. But China's authorities also don't want a sudden collapse of the Kim regime to send millions of refugees streaming across the border. Could North Korea actually launch a nuke? It's not clear whether they've been able to make a nuclear warhead small enough to mount it on a missile. But South Korea or Japan could definitely be in harm's way from a North Korean missile attack, even if it's not a nuclear one. For now, I guess all we can do is take comfort in Vice President Pence's presence at the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Because dressing like you're in Top Gun says to me, everything's gonna be all right. So how do you feel standing on the brink of nuclear annihilation? Leave your comments below. And since YouTube has a real penchant for demonetizing episodes about North Korea, consider supporting China Uncensored on the website Patreon. Link is below. For just $1 an episode, you can help us keep the show going. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Chappell. See you next time.